everyone. Today I am here with my dear friend Paris Prynkiewicz, and she is actually Polish. I'm probably the first person that could pronounce her last name right. She is
Yes.
the host of the Crooked Illness podcast, focusing on mental health, mindset, and mental wellness in general. That is a big topic that we talk over here, as well as in vibrational wealth. And I'm just so excited to have her here. She is absolutely stunning, so much greatness coming from her, and she will chat your ear off and I love that. So welcome, Paris.
Anya. Yes. Oh my gosh, Anya, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to chat with you about this topic today and just, give so much value to your listeners. I'm super excited.
Very nice. So, how did you get started on the mental health and wellness being? I mean, that's something that a lot of people they don't realize that they need until it's too late. But how did you get started, and how can we start preventing that before we're all burnt out?
Oh, I love that question so much. Amazing. So, for how I got started is it actually, I had my own struggles really, really badly with my mental health, starting back when I was 15 years old. And I was actually, at 19 years old, I was hospitalized, diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder, and just struggling really, really badly from inside the walls of that hospital. So, that was that time in my life. But then at 23 years old, I came out of college and I decided to go and accept my first job working at the very same clinic where I was a patient at. So I kind of got to see things from both sides. So I saw things from the perspective of being a patient and just really, really having a hard time and not really understanding how to move forward and trying all these different things, but just not feeling my best and not feeling good. And then I saw that same thing, and that same thing was the stigma that I saw in myself and that I saw in the patients that I was working with. So I decided that I really wanted to tell my story. I wanted to stop, hiding and living in fear and being afraid of, what people would think if they find out, all these things that, I experienced. So I decided to start Crooked Illness, which is the podcast in end of January of 2020. So I came on and I shared my story and my perspectives. But what I've loved more than anything is just really creating this place and this community and this environment for awesome people like you, who's coming on tomorrow to chat with me, to come on and just share their stories, share their resources, share their experiences, and just really make these conversations around mental health more normalized and less stigmatized. So it's been a journey for sure, but it's been one that I am just so glad to have embarked upon and to still continue, every single day, learning and growing as much as I can.
That is a wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to have you here. And I think mental health is something that doesn't get normalized nowadays. I mean, obviously, now with 2020, we've been in a crazy mental health space because of COVID and everything going on. A lot of people they're just now learning the importance of mental health. But I think it's so important to get started at a much younger age because that'll trickle into everything that's going on in your life in the future as adults, and like trying to get a job, trying to navigate, just trying to make friends as adults. Like it all comes down to your mental health. So, how would someone get started with trying to figure out mental health and trying to figure out what is right for them? Because with mental health, there's so many different resources out there, there's so many different things. And if someone doesn't know how to get started, they'll be like overwhelmed, and that's not good for mental health either.
Oh yeah, for
So, where
sure.
would someone get started, and how would they go about their journey on navigating this beautiful way so they can come out much stronger at the end?
So I think the important thing to pull away from that is just trying to just start the conversation, and get educated about what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. Maybe if it's you and you're going through something, or you're having a hard time, or you've dealt with trauma in your past or something like that, just becoming aware of it is the biggest piece that I can say, because that was something that I struggled with for years, was not having that awareness, because I was so focused on the problem, so focused on the things that were going wrong and everything that could potentially go wrong, that I couldn't see what was really affecting me and what was really at the root of everything. So, once I finally decided that I really, really had to look at that and, look at myself and say, are there habits that I have in my life that I can improve? Are there things that I do that I can make better? Are there environments that I put myself in that are hurting me? Just looking at these things and just really having that awareness, and also just being like knowing that it's okay to open up to whoever you want, who's close to you, who you're comfortable with, who you have a good relationship, and just letting them know what's going on, letting them know, I'm not feeling my best. Or, if you've been diagnosed with something, whether you've been diagnosed or not, and you're just not feeling your best, you're feeling, really, really down, really, really sad, you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, stress, panic, just kind of being transparent about that and knowing that somebody is going to connect with you. Somebody's going to understand that. Somebody's going to, really see that and really, really want to help you out with that. And just understanding that that's totally okay. That's totally like perfectly normal, because we all have moments in our life where we are not feeling our 100% best selves. We all have times when we're down, when we're stressed out, when we feel overworked, when we feel overwhelmed, all of these feelings. And that's normal. And I think, the more we can kind of bring this to light and let people know this, I think it'll make people feel more comfortable talking about this stuff and not so scary and like not knowing how to say it, not knowing who to tell this to. And yeah, just, gaining that awareness and just figuring out, are there things in my life that I can change, that I can add into my life, that I can take out of my life, and just really like enjoying the process. And, surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, who, cheer you on, who make you feel good inside. And just, there's so many things. And like you said, there are so many resources out there. So the number one thing I would say is just start with yourself. Start with yourself. Really pay attention to how you're feeling, and really just dig deeper into that, and do that work, and it'll all start to unfold as time goes on, for sure.
That's amazing. I know for a fact, like when I was dealing with a whole bunch of mental stuff, I just had all of these resources coming to me, but it was so important for me to look inwards, just like you were saying, instead of like trying to get all of the resources from the outside world. It really does come down to looking on the inside first and figuring out, why am I feeling this? Am I feeling this? Are these my feelings, or am I being projected these feelings from someone else? So we have to figure those out first, working on the shadow side of it, essentially. Once we work through that, then we could like start implementing different resources, different tasks, different things into this life, so we can go deeper into it, but also like have our mindset go completely free, and then it'll be healthy again. What are some resources that you've used, some different methods, for example, that you use? Because a lot of our listeners, they've already done the work, they've looked inside already, but like what can they do on a mental health standpoint where they're tapping into, so to say, I do tapping tapping into this beautiful new realm where they have all these resources and they could bring this into their daily lives?
Yes, I love that so much. So what I've done is I've done a lot of different things. So of course, I've done therapy, and I really love therapy. I think it's an incredible, incredible resource. And, obviously there's people who've had good experiences with it, and they've had bad experiences with it. But overall, if you find that therapist that you really click with and you connect with, I think it's an incredible resource. I've done that. I've tried different medications, and I know sometimes, like not everyone is comfortable with medications or needs medications or is into doing that, but that's another option that's out there. But what I've really, really, really loved more than anything is being able to learn about working on my mindset. That has made the biggest change for me. So what I've done, is reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of podcasts, changing my eating habits, changing my exercise, making sure I'm going back to being active. Because back when I was really, really struggling and not doing well at all, I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't taking care of my body. I wasn't taking care of my mind. I was, constantly filling my mind up with things that were hurting me. I was, being very, very critical of myself, very, very hurtful towards myself. And I just wasn't, a good person to be around at that time, because I was really just very hard on myself and didn't know how to come out of that. So I started fixing those things. I said, what can I start with? I want to get back into a routine, back into exercise, going on walks, going to the gym 30 minutes a day, and, just eating better instead of, just eating all the time just eating and, always fast food and just, eating so quickly and just, trying to, just get as like full as I could so I could just move on with whatever I was doing that day. I wasn't really, taking that time to, enjoy my meals and enjoy myself. I was just rushing, rushing, rushing. So I started, fixing that. And then also, making sure you're drinking enough water is huge because that's something I did not do. And I just always felt very run down, low energy, very exhausted, very tired, very sad, very upset. And I started making these little changes. But overall, the biggest thing I can tell you is, really working on myself, working on that mindset, trying to shift my mindset from feeling very trapped, very isolated, very alone, afraid, worried, probably shameful if I were to tell anybody, that I was struggling with bipolar disorder, that I was hospitalized, all those feelings. So looking at that and slowly trying to integrate things into my life that'll help me overcome that stuff. So, therapy and medications are awesome and great. But for me, the biggest thing that was really, really helpful was working on me and working on my mindset for sure.
I love that. We speak a lot about like your inner world is the direct reflection of your outer world. And if you're not putting good things into your body, if you're not working out, if you're doing all these bad things for your body, that'll completely reflect on all aspects of your life, including your finances as well. And that has a lot to do with manifestation. And we talk about that very often. I want to chat a little bit about self sabotage because you've talked a little bit about that, saying how you've felt, and I've been there many times already, where I'm like, feeling guilty or telling myself, oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that. These little things that you don't even realize that you're reflecting on yourself, but you are. It's so harmful for you. And how do we get out of that route? Like, how do we make that switch? Because, like, yeah, looking outwards at it, it could be so easy. Yeah, you just make that switch. But how do we actually do that?
Yes, I love that question so much because that is definitely something that I really, really used to struggle with. I would always choose my inner critic like every single day, way more than I ever chose my inner cheerleader. I was always going towards, this is what I did wrong, or this is what I'm not good at, or this is what I'm going to fail at, or all of these things. And what really helped me was just, starting to do that work, starting to pick up those personal development books, starting to tune into and tap into more of these podcasts, YouTube videos, more inspirational, motivational messages. And that's what really started to make me think and make me see, I am able to live a better life. And that was huge because for the longest time, I was very, very stuck in this way of, this is the way my life has to be. This is the way it has to go. I can't come out of this place. I have to stay here. And doing that work really showed me, wow, I could I could live the life I always wanted. I could live the life I always dreamed. I just need to take steps to get there. And, I started to say, okay, what are those steps I need to take? And that's when I really became aware of, I just made a list, right? Because I'm a really big list person. I like to write things out. Yeah, I love to like visually see things. So I like to write things out. What do I do every day? What do I, because I've heard this phrase before, that the same thoughts we have every day usually are the ones we have the next day. And the next day, they kind of repeat. So I started to say, what things am I spending the most of my time on? What am I doing with my time? And that's when I started to realize that I was using a lot of my time to hold my own self back, to keep my own self down because I was talking to myself and just being so critical and so mean to myself, and also spending a lot of time criticizing others and criticizing other people and trying to, like blame people for other situations and, and just kind of move things away from myself and really isolate myself and keep myself alone. So once I started to say, wow, this stuff and these behaviors and these patterns are hurting me. They're hurting me and they're keeping me stuck and they're keeping me feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. And I started to say, you know what? Why don't I start my day a different way? Why don't I start my day by recognizing my blessings, by recognizing things that I'm proud of, things that I'm excited about? And that's when I started to get into practicing gratitude, which has been huge for me. And I know that you can appreciate that because it really makes so much of a difference when you can get up in the morning and say, here are three things that I'm blessed about. Here are three things I'm excited about. Here are, things that I've accomplished, and here are things I'm looking forward to, because it just helps you get your mindset in the right place to start your day. And yeah, that's honestly been, really the most helpful things for me, all of those things for sure.
For sure. I love how you said that you like took up your entire day and you broke it down into little pieces, like saying where do I spend my time? That's so important with everything that we do, because me personally, I spend way too much time on Facebook, way too much time. But I need to realize that and actually like sit down and how much time am I actually allocating to Facebook? How much time am I allocating to my clients, to emails? Like we could sit down and actually pinpoint where we're spending our time, including when we're spending our time like beating ourselves up for whatever reason. We have that inside our days. So it's really important to take a step back and actually look at how we're spending our day, how we're spending our day being positive and then this good, uplifting, high vibe energy versus actually spending it on things that don't matter or things that aren't making me money or things that just aren't serving me the way that they are supposed to be serving me. I also love that you brought in routine. What kind of a daily routine do you have now?
Yes. So now what I love to do is I like to wake up and do gratitude. So I have this, it's a free 28-day gratitude journal that I created. And around that gratitude journal, I actually created a Facebook community, basically to, every single day go on there and share a post and ask a question, and just to kind of help people, get excited about the day and get pumped up and get, in a really good place, in a really good mood. And to maybe they'll see that post and say, wow, that's what I needed to see today. That's helping me. So just doing that. So I love starting my days with that. So I start the day by doing that journal, and then sometimes going into a meditation, doing a workout, or going on a walk as well. And I really love to, start my day like that, because it really, really helps me and is so important for getting me excited for the day, excited for today. And, today's going to be a great day. And this is why, this is how I'm going to make it a good day. And another thing I really love to do is also, what I mentioned is working out. So I don't always work out every single day, probably, like 5 times a week, but it just really helps me to, get my energy on a good level to be able to consistently get the things done that I really want to get done. So doing those two things are my huge go-tos every single day.
I love that. Do you have a wind down routine as well? Because I know that's
Oh,
important as well. Like how you start your day and how you end your day is so important. Me, I just started implementing like I won't touch my phone for at least 2 hours before I go to bed. I leave it on the other side of the room so I'm not tempted, but it's so important. Or like rubbing my feet before I go to bed and putting like some nice socks on or anything. What kind of like a wind down routine do you have?
yes.
Because
Oh
that's
my
important as
gosh.
well.
I love that so much, and I couldn't agree more with you. So for what you just said right there, with the phone, that has been something that, I recently started doing too, because I would realize I'm like, wow, I'm spending, so much time, just on my phone at night, and just, scrolling through stuff, looking at emails, and, trying to answer messages and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I need to put this away, and I need to be here right now in the present moment, and to, just get relaxed and get in a good headspace to fall asleep and then wake up in the morning, instead of, being on that bright phone and just like, really, really like hurting my eyes. And I'm like, this is hurting like my eyesight. So, putting that away and just trying to be here in the present moment, like at least an hour before going to bed, and doing that has been huge for me. And I also love that thing that you brought up of the socks. Like I love doing that too. Like I have so many just fuzzy socks, and I love doing that. Just like putting lotion, Vaseline, putting the socks on, just like feeling good, feeling clean, feeling fresh, so that way when you go to bed and wake up, you feel energized and you feel ready to go, instead of, oh, like I feel kind of like sluggish and like slow, and oh, like, so those two things are huge for me as well. And just also sometimes what I love to do is read. I love to, try to read, maybe like 10 pages of a book, or read for like 10-15 minutes, and just kind of like, soak in that material, soak in what I just read, and take away a message from that. So those are my, top things that I really love to do to just kind of wind down for the evening.
That's beautiful. I love that. I think everyone could take away at least the bits and pieces that they could start implementing into their daily routines now. Let's go back to your podcast because you have a podcast too. How did that go about starting? I know you mentioned in the beginning like you were on the both ends of therapy and like you were seeing how it went. So how did the podcast come about
Yes, I
and
love that
doing this
question.
work actually?
Yes, yes. So actually how it started. So before I did the podcast, so it was the end of January of 2020 is when I did my first episode. And before that, I actually did a few videos. So I did a few videos on IGTV, just kind of I think it was views on therapy. So talking about what my views are on therapy, my experiences with that. And then I did two more, I think. And then that's when I started to get questions from people and they were like, "Oh, like, I had no idea that you ever went to therapy or like what was going on." And I was like, wow, I didn't expect that response at all. I wanted to do it, just to do it and get it out there and really, hopefully say, maybe in doing this and recording this video, someone watching this will take value away from this. So that's really why I wanted to do it. So, that's when I got those questions and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just start this podcast and like see how it goes? I actually had no plan, no plan at all. So I went and I had the name for the podcast Crooked Illness because that actually came from the book that I was writing and I just finished it. So I'm going to hopefully have that published in this year, 2021. So that's where the title of the podcast came from. Crooked Illness is from myself, my story, and those two perspectives that I talked about. So what I did was I literally remember just going over, and I was actually at my parents' house and I went, and I don't know why I went outside in the backyard and I took out my phone and I downloaded Anchor, which is the app that I use. So I got on there and I just started talking. I hit record, and my first episode, I believe, was the relationship between mental health and physical health. So I started talking about that and talking about my experiences with that, and what my lowest moments were with my mental health and how really working on my physical health helped me with that. So I did that. I recorded it. I just put it out there, and a lot of my earlier episodes were just me, talking about these topics. But then I was like, you know what? I really, really, really love interviewing people and just hearing people's stories and seeing where they were and like what they overcame and like what did they do to overcome these moments. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of like it just really snowballed and like started to tumble, and I literally thought nothing of it. I was like, I'm gonna do this and put it out there and maybe do another one. I don't really know. I had no plan, so I just went for it. And that's what I would tell anybody listening to this: if you want to do something, you guys, just start, just go for it, just do it. Just go for it, because I could have just continued to sit there and be like, oh man, I don't really know what I'm doing with this. Maybe I should wait, maybe I should wait till later, and I probably would have never done it. So I just went for it, and it's been such an awesome experience so far. And if I didn't do it, I would have never got to connect with you. So that's why I'm glad I did.
I love that. And I think it's so important to take a step back and look back and be like, whatever I want to do, I can accomplish no matter what it is. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And that's okay. That was actually my whole experience with my book. It came to me, write a book. And I'm like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing at all. No idea. But I'll figure it out as it goes. Sometimes we don't need it. That's very like masculine energy. Like we just need to keep going, doing. But no, we need to take a step back. And it's okay if we don't have it all figured out right now. Just start, and then everything else will fall into place no matter what it is. That is so important, and I love that. So where can they listen to your podcast? Where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Let us know.
Yes, yes. So you guys can follow me. I'm most active on Instagram, and that is at Crooked Illness. I also am on Facebook as well. Everything's a Crooked Illness. So at Crooked Illness, you can check out my podcast anywhere you guys get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, iHeartRadio, all the places. It's also on YouTube. And you can always shoot me a DM, send me a message, and let me know what you think of this episode. Let me know, what your favorite part was. I always love hearing from everybody and getting that feedback and just really being able to chat with you guys. So feel free to shoot me a DM if you guys want. And this has been so much fun. I've been really loving this conversation.
Thank you so much, Paris. So before we head off, 3 tips that people could take away going home. And if they're having problems with mental health, they have no idea where to start. What are 3 tips that people can just start right now?
Okay, perfect. I love that. So 3 tips to start right now. So probably tip number 1, the biggest one that I can give you guys is that awareness piece. So, if you're a visual person like me, take out a piece of paper, take out a journal and just write out what you're feeling. What are you experiencing? What do you spend the most time doing with your day, and really gain that awareness and say, "Okay, here's what I'm doing. Here's where I'm at right now. Here's what I could possibly change to feel better." So gain that awareness is step number 1. Step number 2 is to open up to people if that you're comfortable talking with and sharing things with, starting that conversation and getting into that topic and into that talk, and really being able to hear that insight from people that you love the most, that you trust the most, that could potentially give you really good advice, really good resources, and just really really help you feel in a better place. So opening up, starting that conversation is step number 2, and step number 3 is to practice self-care, you guys. So whatever you guys do for self-care, there's so many things that you can do and so many things out there. Just doing something for yourself. Do something for yourself, no matter how little or how big it is, every single day, whether that's taking time for yourself, going on a walk, eating something that you really love to eat, spending time with your friends, doing something for you. So those are the top 3, you guys. So gain that awareness, open up, start the conversation, and practice self-care.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Paris, for being here, for sharing all of your insights and educating people on mental health and how they could become these beautiful, bright versions of themselves like you've become, because that is so important. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. This has been so much fun, Anya. I loved it so much, and I cannot wait to chat with you on my podcast tomorrow. Woo!
Join us for this free 90-minute masterclass and find out how the Rebel Entrepreneur method can change your life and business. For the badass spiritual entrepreneur that is ready to step into limitless abundance and consistently bring in 10, 20, 30K months. To join the masterclass, visit aniahalama.com/rebel-method.